media project.
The Mental Suppository, now on Apple Podcasts. What radio station is it on? It's not on the radio, it's on the internet. What's the internet? The internet's been in general use to the public since the 1990s, and you don't know what it is? I don't get out very much. Is it a sort of sandwich? The Mental Suppository. Listen to it on Apple Podcasts, on your phone or your computer. What if your phone's a rotary dial and your computer's a VIC-20? I can't help you.
Excuse me, do you mind if I join you?
I wouldn't even say no to a salami sandwich.
Hello and welcome to the Mental Suppository. I'm Brett Herholtz, and joining me is
Murphy Grumbar.
Welcome to the podcast.
It's my pleasure to be here.
And today we're going to be talking about something we both grew up in, we both really enjoyed, and something we haven't actually discussed in depth on the show yet, and that's a favorite program of mine called Doctor Who.
Yeah, we often have little nerd chats about it. So this is and this is going to be one of them.
Yeah. We're going to really get into it right after a word from our sponsor.
This week's episode is brought to you by Grin, ultra soft toilet paper.
Oh man, I shouldn't have eaten those campers last night. I'm really wrecking the porcelain thunder bucket this morning. But Grin toilet paper is so soft and absorbent.
What the hell? There's a bear on my toilet! Ow, oh God! You could have at least flushed! Ow, ow!
Grin ultra absorbent toilet paper. It can handle anything, even if you shit like a bear in the woods, or in someone's camper, or in the Vatican.
So, I don't know about you, but how you got into Doctor Who to begin with, but for me it was actually my father, and he's not a fan. Let me just to kind of preface it with that. He's not somebody who
punishing you with it.
No, no. It was one of these things. He worked a job where he worked from like 6 a.m. to like 6 p.m. So it's one of those things when he would come home, you're tired, you just kind of want to veg, and so he'd usually turn PBS on, and around like maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. And one of the things that came on was Doctor Who. And at that point, I think it was just starting to come on a lot of the PBS stations in the area.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people have to understand, because a lot of people seem to think that the whole popularity of Doctor Who in the States started in 2005, and it didn't. It actually started on PBS back in the 1980s. And so my dad would come home, he would turn on the TV, and this odd British sci-fi show with that was filmed on video with these really dodgy special effects would come up and would start, and he'd be like, "What the heck is this?" He'd kind of think it was corny, but then at the same time, he'd watch it, and he'd watch the next episode and the episode after that. And for me, the show terrified me as a kid.
Yeah.
And
see, that's the thing. Yeah, even though it has dodgy special effects, when I was 8, this was very, very believable.
It was, and I think for me, it was one of those things. The nightly news was shot on videotape, and so it looked like the same type of thing that the nightly news looked like. So I thought this was stuff that was like really happening. So, I mean, my first 2 memories of Doctor Who was being frightened of Tom Baker.
Yeah,
it was the episode Invasion of Time. I remember it was the point where he brings out K9 Mark II and looks at the camera, and for some reason that just terrified me.
He is scary. Yeah.
My second one was City of Death with the Jaggeroth. It was the end of part. It was the end of, I think it was part 1, where Julian Glover pulls off the face mask and reveals his alien face, and it's got that one eye, and it's like all like really squiggly and weird looking, and that scared the shit out of me as a kid.
Yeah. No, I agree. Mine was my brothers were into it. My older brothers thought it was cool.
I was the older brother.
Yeah, so they would watch it. My first one was the Green Death.
Oh,
that was freaking scary with the maggots.
The maggots, yes.
And they would their mouths like a hissing like a cat. Oh my goodness, that was scary.
I forget.
Really scary.
It was like a real. I thought was it like a real cat skeleton or a or
It was some sort of ferret or some
Yes,
skeleton.
that was it.
Yeah.
I remember
Mouth
reading
and
about
the
something about
jaw.
that. You're like,
Yeah.
nowadays you'd have some sort of animal rights group on your ass for that, but still, I could see that. For me,
Yeah.
I think maybe they did start showing Jon Pertwee in my area, but I don't remember it. I remember seeing Doctor Who when it was Tom Baker, so I don't know if that's when they started showing it. And I actually, for the longest time, thought he was the first Doctor, and so when it came, when he regenerated into Peter Davison, for one thing, that was a shock to me because it's like, it was like one of those things. I came into the room and asked my dad, "Where's the Doctor?" And he's like, "Oh, that's him." I was like, "That's not him." It's like the Doctor has a scarf with curly hair.
We were upset by that transformation. We were.
I was confused, and then when I found out there were doctors before him, I was like, "Oh, he wasn't the first one." And there were still people that actually thought Tom Baker was the first Doctor. It's like, no, there were 3 before him.
Yeah.
Well, at that time, yes.
And there wasn't, if you're a young kid and you're like searching for weird things, there's really not much to find.
No.
You can get stuff at the library, find like weird books, maybe you're too scared to check them out.
Right.
But you can find some weird stuff there. Maybe find some stuff, I don't know, in a dumpster. There was no internet.
No. People have to realize this is like 1982 to like 86. And so, I mean, there was no such thing as the internet. And a lot of the stuff, I mean, you find out like a lot of the British shows, we found out through PBS, those of us who didn't have cable.
Yeah, it was just, finding something this truly weird was pretty exciting.
Yeah, that was the thing. My terror kind of turned into intrigue and interest. And it's like suddenly I was hooked and I was watching. It's like even though the Doctor had changed and it wasn't Tom Baker and I wanted Tom Baker to come back, I just became, hooked on this show, this weird little show, and I was one of those weird kids in grade school. Nobody else knew or watched Doctor Who, but I was sitting there and talking about it, and they're kind of looking at me like, I've got 2 heads or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not cool. You should be listening. You should be watching the A-Team or listening to Def Leppard. What's this Doctor Who?
Yeah, I remember my friends being like, Murphy, what are you talking about?
I know.
Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And, no, I have some people who liked it too. I knew some people in high school, a few people who.
I didn't know anybody else besides me who it's funny because it wasn't until it's like, I kind of, it's like, I think with most people in our age group, we kind of fell out of it for a while, after I think it was after like 6th or 7th grade, I kind of fell out of it for a while, but it was when it was like when I went off to college, when I was like maybe around 19 or 20, suddenly I began to remember this show again and remember, it's like, it's like, yeah, it was silly, but I really enjoyed it. And that was when it was like the home video market was really starting to open up.
Yeah.
So it's like I suddenly discovered these places like Suncoast Video, and it was like, to my amazement, a lot of the episodes I remembered watching when I was younger were on the video
omnibus versions. The omnibus.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was the first one you remember getting when you got it on VHS? What was your first purchase?
There was one I had that I kind of hate because it's not a very good Who episode, but it was like one of the few I had.
Right.
And it's just not a very good Doctor Who episode. I should give it a look. I watched it way too much. I had like Logopolis, and I had what was the one, the 4th Doctor with the androids.
Is it the Android Invasion or the Androids of Tara?
Android Invasion.
Yes.
Yeah. It's an okay episode.
Yeah.
But to have that, like, watch it many times, it's not as this plot kind of is not very good at that point.
I think when you're rediscovering it, it's kind of fun and exciting, but then it's like as you begin to discover the other episodes, you're like, oh, there are other episodes better than this. My first purchase, I have to admit, and I think a lot of Who fans will bristle, but mine was actually the 2 Doctors, because I remember that was the one I liked on TV.
So speaking of that,
yes.
All right. So it's interesting because now I have a Who club.
Oh, that's cool.
And my older age. And
I think I should mention to our listeners, that's how Murphy and myself met was in college.
Uh-huh.
And
yes.
we both kind of, I discovered there was other people who were into Doctor Who. And I think we did have like a small Who club that barely ever met.
Yeah.
But that's how
Well,
we became roommates for a time. It's like, and sort of through that shared enjoyment for Doctor Who. But so it's kind of cool that you're continuing this whole idea of having a Who club.
Well, what's nice is there's actually I found a new way to watch it, and I've actually been watching Who I've never seen, so it's kind of exciting. So
Really?
I get to watch stuff for the first time with people who also haven't seen it.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty exciting. But these are all like people who are fans of new. Excuse me. These are people who are fans of New Who.
That's something actually I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah,
Because
and they haven't seen a lot of old Who. So
okay.
I've introduced. Our club is exclusively classic.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's not that we don't like New Who. It's just like the reason it is because I've found a way to marry Doctor Who with cannabis.
Oh.
So we all get extremely high, and you can't do this with New Who because it goes too fast.
That's true.
Doable, but less enjoyable. So basically, what I've realized is that old Who works really well after you get New Who will not because it's edited so quickly.
Yes, that's true.
It's such a different type of storytelling. And what's great is when you're high and you're with friends and like the episode is just pretty bad, you could just go on a tear about something you see in the background
absolutely.
for like 5 minutes, and it's a lot of fun. I'm not saying it's a way to enjoy it. It's so charming, the premise and the show itself, that you allow it to have bad episodes.
You know what? I think that's why we liked it in the first place. Was there wasn't, even though it was like it had dodgy special effects and most of the monsters were probably made of tinfoil, there was something charming about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of it had to do with a lot of the storytelling was really great in it. And you could tell these actors are acting the hell out of them.
Yeah, the difference is special effects. Everyone is so obsessed with that now.
I know.
That idea. Doctor Who should never, in my opinion, that should never be always its central basis.
That should be the central basis for a lot of stuff,
especially Doctor Who, though.
Yeah.
Historically, it's built on like shaky sets and really weird chances on strange special effects.
It really is the British kissing cousin of Dark Shadows, which had a lot of the same technical problems with that. So, and I found a lot of my British friends who are also Doctor Who fans are also fans of Dark Shadows. So I'm kind of wondering if it was that grass is greener on the other side sort of thing.
Yeah.
We're fans of Who, they're fans of Dark Shadows.
I just think that, well, anyway, like when we're high, it's a lot of fun. I'll tell you what I'm saying is like also is like there could be dodgy special effects, there could be dodgy actors, there could be dodgy script, but I think the key to really good Doctor Who is casting a good doctor, because even though everything around them is horrible or weird or not right that episode, if they take it seriously and go for it, they can pretty much carry it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you're always in it just for the doctor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, may I ask what episode you haven't seen that you're actually found, just kind of been introduced to for the first time?
Okay, I'm watching, so I haven't seen a lot of the First Doctor. So we watched a lot of the First Doctor, and it's been really, really good.
That's surprising because as a kid, that was the one it's like I couldn't get through An Earthly Child because it was just it just felt so slow going, and it's just
it is slow going.
But
it is slow going, but when you get high and watch it, oh my gosh, it's riveting. It's really good.
Well, I know when I was introducing my wife, who was, also grew up in our generation, she remembers Doctor Who from that time period, introducing her to some of the older episodes. It's funny because I introduced her to Curse of Fenric, which most people have kind of considered to be a classic, but she didn't really care for that one and found that one to be very hard to follow. Whereas I ended up showing her, I think I ended up showing her the first Dalek serial, and she actually it was either the first Dalek serial or Unearthly Child, and she ended up really enjoying that one because she, the story, it wasn't so convoluted.
I really enjoyed it. A lot of people crap on the episodes. I mean, that first episode's incredibly strong.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
incredibly awesome intro. I liked the caveman stuff. I thought that was really interesting storyline and how
being older now,
itself.
I appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah. The best thing about it is like how unpredictable and how unlike this early Doctor is so very different than the Doctor we have now. I mean, there are I don't know what he's going to do sometimes, and I miss that kind of feeling in the show. Like that's a new feeling for me where I'm like, okay, is he gonna do the right thing here?
Yeah, it was when he took that scene when he takes the mercury out of the TARDIS.
Yeah,
and puts it, he puts his granddaughter and crew in possible peril just because he wants to explore the the city. That little bit of childishness that he would put people in danger just for his own needs. That's very, that's kind of interesting, and people would feel that's not,
it's beyond childish. It's like a mad scientist level of malevolence.
Absolutely.
And I watched one episode where it was like the War Machine we watched, which also he was great in. He has a fantastic hero moment where they're like, these machines come out and they're like, no one can face these machines. Look at them. They're so dangerous.
Yeah.
And they're ridiculous. They have these like arms that come out and they have like one has like a big hammer on it, like hits stuff with it. It's awesome. And everyone's afraid. The Doctor at the end of the episode steps out because everyone's hiding. Be like, we can't face it. It's too dangerous. Doctor was like, I will. And he just walks out and steps out in front of everyone. And the camera just zooms in on him. Cut to the end of the episode. It's so cool.
That was the other thing. I'm kind of wondering if, with New Who, if watching a lot of the new, like the new Disney Plus series, they're all like an hour and they're all like a half hour in length, which was something, Doctor Who did forever and ever from like 63 till, maybe 1989. And I'm kind of wondering if Doctor Who should go back to that format since we're all sort of, I feel like the world's getting more of a short attention span to things.
I don't know. I think it could. I don't know.
Because honestly, I kind of miss the days of the old 4-part serials where, you'd have a cliffhanger at the end of every episode, but because I feel like, it's like, watching, it's like even watching a lot of the new MCU movies or the new Batman movies and all stuff like that. It's like these 3-hour epics. I just don't think we really need them?
Yeah. I think it's an interesting idea. The way I would do it is, I'll be honest, these old episodes, there's a lot of padding that are unnecessary today.
There's a lot of padding in the new season. I mean, there's a lot of padding in new shows too.
Yeah,
especially the longer ones.
What I'm saying is, like, case in point, we were laughing about this too. Tom, it's in the one where he had the great ending with a salami.
Oh, was it Mask of Mandragora?
Yes. They loved it, by the way.
Oh, that's a good. Actually, that season is that
end
first
is
season.
Fantastic.
I think that whole first season with first with Harry and Sarah, and then Sarah and the Doctor. I think that's one of my favorite because it was like, even though it's like it had that kind of a Hammer horror feel to it, and it's like the stories got interesting, and the just the chemistry between the Doctor and Sarah in those episodes, I think was like a real high point in Tom's episodes. I think that season and his last season were probably his most interesting.
But anyway, there's a whole scene where they're all together. We're running down these giant stone steps for like 2 minutes.
Yep.
And everyone was like, "What is going on? Why? We don't need to see this. We know." It was just they needed to pad it.
Right.
I mean, and I guess back in the 70s, they're like, we need to see how they got there, right? Maybe.
Right.
I don't know, but what I'm saying is, like, I like your idea. I would say like 3 parts.
Oh yeah.
You cut out all that fluff, and you have 3 parters.
Yep.
I think would be the way to go if you're going to do it. Because 4 is a bit long, I think, for a modern world, but maybe 2 or 3. parts.
Because a lot of the shows are like 6-part shows, but they're all one storyline. Whereas in the original I think you're onto something where I think a lot of the original Doctor Who stories were like, like maybe 6 to sometimes 7 or 8 episodes. But to have like one story that's like 3 parts and then another story that's 3 parts.
Yeah, that's how
you end up having a whole series.
Yeah, that's how I would divide it up into 3 parts. But I mean, they're just fantasy ideas. It's like,
oh, absolutely, yeah.
I think I think they should experiment with how it's in these. I have no problem with experimenting with that, like how to divide up the stories. They
did it with Colin Baker's first full season. They did the 3 1 hour episodes, and they found it didn't work, so they kind of didn't do that.
It was 40. It was about 45 minutes.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. And they said it didn't work.
Speaking of that, you're not going to like this part.
Oh, don't worry about it. You can tell me.
Okay. My Who Club, which it's about, so it just happened by accident. I was leaving a open mic in the park, and we happened to bump into hang out with an older friend I know for a long time. We watched Who from now and then a new guy, and we were talking about, hey, you want to go home and watch some old Doctor Who? And the other guy was like, oh yeah, I'm in on this. He's like,
that's how it starts. That's the gateway drug.
Yeah. And then so we got together and watched it, and we're like, hey, let's do this every week. This is great.
That's good.
So it's to start up now, like even more people, a few more come. So now it's like up to 3-4 people. And like people are already like staking territories who their favorite doctors are. And
really?
Like,
that's cool. That's because I think even when we had our Who Club down at college, we all found we had our favorite doctors,
Yeah. So anyway,
not just one, 1 or 2.
Right. So we were working our way through the first Doctor, and then there was a problem with the video. So I was like, let's progress up and let's do like a story from each Doctor, like
that's
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to 1.
That's a good idea.
So just for diversity,
right?
And we're up to the 6th Doctor. We're doing the 2 Doctors. They are merciless. They are ridiculing the 6th Doctor.
I can understand why.
No one likes him. They are trashing everything about him because the problem, and also I think it's not helpful for the 6th Doctor. He's there with the 2nd Doctor, and and he's so good.
Well, yeah,
and especially in that episode, he's really good. There's some speciesism in there that people are calling out.
Really?
Yeah. Now that we're looking like a modern lens.
What, the Endrogums or?
Yeah, the Endrogons, because the 2nd Doctor is so convinced that they're entirely bad that he's like, if someone helped them evolve, evolve, that there couldn't be a possibility that they might actually be different. That the Doctor is. Are you back?
Oh, I'm back. Let's hold on. Just I just lost power.
I hope it's saved.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I didn't lose power. No, because I didn't lose the internet. So.
Okay. Back to the thought. So yeah, they have been trashing.
It's understandable, though.
The 6th Doctor on drugs. He's so irritating, and that's how he doesn't help. That outfit. I mean, everything. Like, if his outfit was at least cool, the outfit is so stupid. It sets everyone off.
And I feel bad for Colin Baker because that's not what he wanted.
Yeah, I know, it's so.
You hear the interviews with him, and he wanted it to be all. Yeah. He wanted it to be all black.
Yeah, and then the juxtaposition where you have like Perry or like tits are out the whole time, and like just like so so beautiful. Everyone's like, whoa, like, and then you're like, it's like a seesaw. It's like, oh, she is so beautiful, and then you look at him, he's like, coat is so ugly, and then he switches. because it's so hot because they shoot that in Spain.
Yeah.
And he switches to this vest, which is as equally as ugly as the coat. So they're like, oh my God, he switched outfits and it's worse.
That was John Nathan Turner. He wanted it to be totally tasteless. And he got what probably because he wanted to be the Doctor and he wanted to dress the Doctor the way he looked.
He was trying to do something, I guess.
Well, I think he was trying to do also a lot of branding too, because you notice like the question marks on the lapel since Tom Baker.
Dumb.
I kind of liked it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's dumb.
I know.
I think it's dumb because you don't like the thing about it is like if it's more subtle, like the Sylvester McCoy and his cane. If it was just that,
yeah,
that's like a natural thing. It's in that shape anyway.
Right.
So if you have the, if it kind of looks like that, that's cool. Not all over your sweater. Not all over your shirt.
Oh, he hated that too.
It's like it would be like if you've lived with and someone know you as if your last name was Lizard, okay, and you were Dr. Lizard in this hospital, and everything you wore had lizards on it.
Right.
I mean, this is something you do when you're 10. By the time you're 50, you'd be like, yeah, I know, I'm Dr. Lizard. I'm not going to wear lizards.
I think I remember there was a story where when June Hudson was designing Tom Baker's wardrobe for his final season, she did not want to put the question marks on the lapel. She just it's like, what's the point? Why are you doing this? It's going to look ridiculous. So she tried to make it look lighter on the lapels.
Yeah.
I don't know if, and it's like he wanted to get rid of the scarf too, and she's just like, no, I'm not doing that. Well,
I know an interesting story about that. I'm glad I'm using my other name, so
I'll cut that out.
Okay. An interesting story about that. So June Hudson, she was given so it wasn't an order. He just told her, hey, I've given you carte blanche. You can even get rid of the scarf if you want to.
Okay.
So June Hudson looked at it. Knew the program. She designed it. She was designing on it for a while.
Oh yeah.
Previous year, and so she's like, "No way am I getting rid of this because it's
absolutely
so cool in it." So she was like designing the outfit, like different size scarves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Tom Baker came by and he was like, "This is cool." And she was like, "What are you thinking?" And he was like, "I'll wear anything you make. But here, I have an idea for you." And he points to the scarves, put them all together. And she's like, it's like, okay, it's going to be long. He's like, longer the better. So,
well, he'd gotten so sick at that
point.
He ended up getting so sick at that point and got really thin too. So it's like his costume was almost like falling off him.
Yeah.
So it might have been good to have that extra weight of the costume on him so it didn't make him look so rail thin.
Yeah. I I'm sad as I do like him bony and thin. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, it fits in that season with him being like kind of angrier and sadder.
He did
I like it.
He did become very like William Hartnell-esque in his last season where he was.
I enjoyed it. I'm with you. I really like if they kept going with the crazy antics, and I like some of the crazy antics.
Yeah.
But he hit the top with that. So pulling him back down, actually I think was genius.
Oh yeah,
and I give J&P credit.
Yeah. It gave a good performance out of Tom Baker too.
It did. Some of his performances are great in that season.
Because I feel like I like the middle stuff. I like the Douglas Adams stuff, but I mean, as far as from a fan aesthetic, I suppose it's like his first series with Sarah Jane and his last series with Romana and then Adric. I think were my two favorites.
I guess I just love it all.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's bad episodes, certainly. But I think
that's anything. It's like, not all of them are going to be great, and I think that comes in with like the whole idea of some things being filler or some things being
good he's so good as the Doctor. It's incredible.
That's why he's so remembered, and it's like people always kind of do that where they it's like if there's a Doctor like Tom Baker or David Tennant who have become popular, and the immediate reaction is like, oh, they're overrated. It's like, well, not really. There's a reason why fans like them, and there's a reason why their episodes are still enjoyed, because I think with Tom Baker, there's a lot of himself in the role of the Doctor, where it's like there's really not somewhere where the Doctor begins and Tom Baker ends. It feels like a role where you bring a lot of your. At least he did. He brought a lot of himself into the role. And with David Tennant, he came into the role as a fan, and you could tell this was sort of the the dream role for him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I think, it's just kind of luck that it kind of worked out that well.
Oh, absolutely. And he was and Baker was an unknown. Tom Baker was an unknown at that time. I mean, he was already an actor, but he wasn't. It wasn't like they'd cast Laurence Olivier in the role. So having somebody who wasn't a known actor, the way like Jon Pertwee or Patrick Troughton was in the role, might have actually helped sort of solidify him in the memory of everybody as the almost could be considered the definitive Doctor.
I like when they, like Matt Smith, a nobody.
Yeah,
that's a great idea to still do that.
Not only that, he was just, it was really ballsy to
someone who's perfect for the role.
Not only that, it was kind of ballsy having a 26-year-old kid in the role.
Yeah,
it was somebody who was, it was like, honestly, it's like they never really, they had Peter Davison who was like 29, 30 when he took over, but to have somebody who was 26 years old, it's like, or younger, it's like, how will they react? How will the public react? But he really kind of gave off this old soul sort of performance as his Doctor. You didn't feel like he was a young kid just playing grown up.
Yeah.
You felt like he was like an old man in a young man's body.
So the Who Club only really work. I do like a lot New Who. I love New Who, but this format we've worked out where we it can only work.
I could see that.
Classic.
It's also like shorter episodes too, so I think it's great for a short attention span.
Yeah, yeah, but it's like if we want to talk about new Who, I will say it's like this is the first time in my life where I'm watching Doctor Who. The last season, what was it? Season 13?
I think so. Yeah,
season 13. I was watching it. I had no idea what was going on.
Really?
I was completely lost.
There's definitely been a split. There's been people who love everything that's happened in the new season, and then there's other people who have like really, really hated it. And then there are people that have, it's sort of been a mixed bag where there's things they like about it, and there's things they hate about it. But I was just got bored and I got confused and I kind of gave up on it. Ah, okay.
And I was having so much fun with Classic Who. Yeah. And that's taking up my time, my Who viewing. And I don't have as much time really. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm not having a good time. Well, it's not like I hate Who forever, but I'm like,
oh no, I know what you mean.
I'm hoping that Russell T Davies can bring me back, make me interested.
Yeah, I can understand that. Well, it's an interesting thing because it's like you look at some other like franchises, like with Star Wars Last Jedi. There was another example of something that kind of split fandom right in half. There were people that absolutely loved what they did with Last Jedi and just thought it was a great. It was just a great way to move the franchise forward. And there was other people that just absolutely hated it and thought it's like they just thought it was just completely wrong-headed. Whereas I felt there were good aspects and there were bad aspects to it, but I mean not enough to get me really angry about it. And I think it just shows like with Rian Johnson, who did Last Jedi, and even Chibnall, who was been the showrunner for Doctor Who. Working, kind of curating a franchise is a difficult thing, and I think you have to have the right wherewithal to deal with it.
I'm not saying. I agree with that, but here's the problem. Okay, with that idea, when they gave it to the showrunner before, I'm forgetting his name right now.
Stephen Moffat.
Moffat. Okay. I was encouraged when they gave it to Moffat. He wrote incredible stories.
Oh, absolutely.
Some of the best Who stories ever written were written by this writer. So giving control over to him really made sense to me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. This new guy wrote some of just like subpar or actually bad.
It's funny thinking about it afterwards. I don't really. The only episode I really remember of his was the Power of Three with the cubes, and I just remember it being very forgettable.
Yeah, they're all pretty forgettable. They're all either okay or almost kind of bad.
But he's gotten like
not horrible.
But he's gotten a lot of like good press for Broadchurch. So I think I kind of wonder if that's kind of why people, or at least the BBC, decided we'll give it to him.
I wish the BBC said, listen, we looked at your Doctor Who scripts you write. We don't want you to write any. We don't think you're up to par.
Well, that's another good.
You just run the show and getting good writers. And if you don't want to do that, then I don't think you're right for Who.
Well, I'm kind of wondering if that's a direction the series should go with. You know, it's something, you know, like what Nathan Turner did, or some of the previous producers. Even Philip Hinchcliffe didn't write the episodes. He got you know, really great writers to write the episodes. Maybe they did. Maybe they edited a few. Well, no, they had story editors to do it. But you know, it's like I think that's what I would do if I was a showrunner of Doctor Who. Is, you know, as much as I'd like to give input, I would also want to find people who were like fantastic writers who understood the character and could take the series in a good direction. Where, you know, instead of like turning it into like my own fan wank.
Yeah. It's okay to have all nods to fans because the show is so old. It's okay. The way to do it is you have details and stuff in there. So if the casual viewer, if they don't know what it means, it doesn't even matter to them.
Right.
But for like nerds like us, it'll be, oh, cool, look at what he's holding.
Yeah.
But it has, you know, if you don't know, it won't affect anything. They'll have nods to things if they want to, because the history is huge.
Right.
And my problem is that it's just like a bad showrunner who can't write good stories for Doctor Who is writing a lot of them. And he can't write them. And the characterization of this Doctor is pretty bad. And it's sad because I will say, for me, she's my sixth Doctor of the new era.
Oh, really?
She's badly written. Her character, the Sixth Doctor, I do feel bad. Like, they didn't give him he became more agreeable and stuff, but I think he should have been a jerk, just like the first story, and he sort of softened after that. Because people can't wait. He's a hero. He can't be a jerk for an entire season. That's a cool move to make, but little kids don't want that, and people on drugs don't want it either.
Apparently not.
No, but so what I'm saying is, like, that's a brave thing to do, not for a whole season. This new showrunner, I mean, he can't. I'll give you a case in point. One thing that really shows it all, and I hate these people who hate like diversity or hate like a woke ideology. Doctor Who should try to be as diverse as possible, which will make sense in its world.
Actually, and you just brought something up before you. Sorry to interrupt, but you said, you know, people just complaining like Doctor Who being woke. It's like, haven't you watched old episodes of Doctor Who? Doctor Who was always sort of bringing up stuff like environmentalism, diversity. Maybe not as enlightened as it is now, but it's always been a part of the show. So people saying, "Oh, Doctor Who's been getting too political," it's like, it's always been political.
But it should be political in a way where we don't kind of notice it at first. You have to be like,
it shouldn't be like a TED Talk.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be like, I'll give a comparison, like new Star Trek is.
Okay.
The latest season of Star Trek Picard is so horrible, like garbage.
Oh.
And I'm fine with symbolism, but like old Star Trek, Next Generation, all these, they had good stories that had allusions to our modern times and ideas where they like can take it apart from a different perspective. They've traveled back in time in Star Trek Picard, laying out the problem with immigration and the wall stuff, and there's like ISIS there, and they're like bad guys, and I'm bad, you know. It's like, it's all like so simplistic. You're calling, you know, balls and strikes, or laying it out there. It's so stupid. It's like, my comparison with New Who would be like this stupid romance with Yaz and the Doctor. We've done this already. Development they weren't flirting with each other. It comes at it. What it is, it's like the writers go online. Oh, wait a minute. Bunch of people think they should get together. Let's put them together. That's not a reason to do it.
He's a
He's so
900-year-old
old.
alien. Yeah.
He's so old. He's from another. It would be like if you, to the Doctor, it would be like if you were like a college professor who was, I don't know, 55 years old, like making out with like 18-year-olds.
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, it's legal, but is it really appropriate? And I think they've already done that with the Doctor, the Doctor's supposed to be this more cerebral, eccentric person. He travels all he has access. He can have romances, and they've done it in the show. And it's more. I want him to be learn how. I want him to be friends with.
Well, I'll be honest. I wasn't even really big on the whole River Song romance marriage thing. It's just like
But at least that was interesting, like a relationship backwards. It was cool to see him in an actual relationship that wasn't a companion. And this whole Yaz thing, it's just like out of nowhere. It's just thrown in there. It does, because here's the problem. If there was lead up to it, because there's no lead up to it, it looks like it's completely tacked on. And because you wrote it, because here's where bad writing coincides with people who are against wokeism, right?
Yeah.
So because you're a horrible writer and you're a bad showrunner, because you tacked it on, now if it was woven in the story and it was believable, it'd be like, okay, all right, this is where it's going to go right now. But it's just like, there's so many things against it. It's like, the Doctor's already done this. So if he keeps doing it, it's getting creepy now to me. This is creepy. We're at the creepy level. In fact, I think in like 5 years from now, people will look back on this and be like, nah, that's wrong.
I can see what you're
saying.
saying.
It's inappropriate. It's like weird.
I can see what you're saying. If they had done something like they did with Martha Jones, where it was like audio was different. It was sort of leading up to it, and he was sort of, it was like the the unreciprocated love.
Yeah.
But
even better than that, I thought was the best one they did, and they should have never done any more with it. Was Billy Piper?
Yeah.
Was Rose?
I wasn't a big fan of Rose either.
I liked Rose a lot.
Okay.
And I love the resolution where she actually does get with the Doctor, but it's not the Doctor.
Right.
It was an interesting way to do it, so they could show it without showing it.
Right.
That's how you do it. Now that's how you write a Doctor romance with a companion if you want it, because he doesn't even have it, and it kind of saves the Doctor from becoming creepy.
Yeah.
And a lot of the episodes, what I just really disagree with the 13th Doctor, how they characterize her. Like, the 4th Doctor would berate the 13th Doctor. Like, they have episodes where she comes out on the side of like mega corporations and those in corrupt power systems. She comes out in defense of them. And it's like the Doctor is supposed to always be for against these like corrupt power systems. I've found that to be sad. It's almost like, the Doctor's been around so long, he's kind of forgot his roots a little.
Well, I guess there was one episode where, some fans had complained about where the older character, Graham, was mentioning his prior cancer and being worried about that. And the 13th Doctor just brushing him off, saying, well, I have problems. She's just saying, she's saying, I have problems with being close. Something to the effect that she basically blew him off. And I'm thinking to myself,
So this is what bad writing.
And I feel like they did it. I feel like they did, by doing that, they not only did a disservice to the character, they did a disservice to Jodie Whittaker, because there could have been a point where she could have given a really great Doctor speech, saying, not even a speech. How about this? Because she's supposed to be different than the Doctor prior. This is why he's such a bad writer. That would be something the 12th Doctor would do, not the 13th. What I would have her do is just give him a hug. Yeah. And that would be an amazing statement. And
because she's supposed to be more empathetic. She calls these people her fam, all right?
Yeah.
You're not treating them like your family. If you
True.
aren't there for them when they are having a horrible time and they need a hug.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm not saying because she's a woman, she hugs them, but I'm saying that she has some sort of, she's supposed to be more, this one's supposed to be more empathetic and more understanding of like humans and like human emotions and stuff like that.
It's been what you're saying is it's been very inconsistent.
Very inconsistent and no good characterization. Like, I don't know this doctor. I don't feel she's had any kind of arc, any kind of development. It's just quipping, fast cutting, blah, 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 end of episode. I don't feel any characterization. It's just
a lot of it, I think.
Nerd ranting here. I got to calm down here.
It's very easy to get into. I completely understand that. And
No, but here's the thing. It's like
a friend of mine actually described it as there's not enough show and there's too much tell.
There has been some cool episodes and some interesting stuff done. I'm not saying it's all horrible. I'm just saying actually that the latest season was just kind of, I just tuned out. And I'm having so much fun with Old Who that it's taken up that spot in my time, and I had this conversation with my nephew because he's like, man, the last Star Wars movie, what was it called?
Rise of the Skywalker.
Rise of the Skywalker. They hated it, and I hated it too. I thought it was just horrible. And Last Jedi, at least say what you want about it. Yeah, it was surprising to me. I didn't know what was going to happen. Sometimes it was truly interesting. Maybe he made decisions that you didn't like, but I bet you we were all like, what's going to happen?
Right.
This last one was just hard. And my nephew was like, what am I, should I not like Star Wars anymore? I was like, no, listen. Star Wars probably will outlive you. Right. So you can check out for a little while. Or some of it you'll be like, you know what? I don't like Boba Fett. Love The Mandalorian, but Boba Fett, not as good. I won't watch it. I'll wait for another Mandalorian season or something else that I like. I don't have to. It's so big now and so long. You can kind of choose parts of it that you like more. Some parts you may never watch.
Well, I think what you're saying kind of goes with Doctor Who as well. Because, I mean, I know there's a lot of people who like the 13th Doctor and have been enjoying what's been going on. But then there's a lot of people who haven't. So it's like you can sort of say, I don't feel, I want to take a break from this. I'm not feeling it. I'm going to watch the oldest episodes. You don't have to stop being a fan just because the series, the series isn't going in a way that you completely agree with. You can enjoy the older episodes.
Yeah, we're having so much fun watching the old episodes that, that's just a great thing about it. So been on so long. But I am like you. I'm a little wistful I'd love for these cliffhangers and these like 25-minute episodes. I'm like, boy, kind of wish they'd go back to this.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like I've kind of just watching like The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, and even some of the Marvel's superhero shows that all are like they're like 30 minutes long, much like the half hour long, much like the old Doctor Who episodes. Is that the way the series should go? It might, because it seems like everybody's getting a shorter and shorter attention span. And since, streaming's, I mean, for me, I don't like going out to the movies anymore. I don't mind waiting till it's up on streaming, and I'll watch the movie there where it's like, oh, it's going to be a 3-hour movie. Click. I'll stop for now. I'm going to go have a sandwich. I'm going to go take a nap. I don't have to sit through a 3-hour movie thinking, oh gosh, I really have to get up and use the bathroom in the middle of the action. And you can't go click up. The theater won't click.
Yeah. I think I just hope that RTD does something, just makes it good again.
And people were surprised he came back, but in looking back on that, it's like, it's like, I don't blame him for coming back because it's going to be the 60th anniversary to, curate that 60th anniversary season. I mean, I'm sure, when he was watching like Stephen Moffat doing like the 50th anniversary special and that whole season, he was probably, I got to imagine he's had to have been chomping on the bit because I know I would have. So just to have that opportunity where it's like, okay, Chris Chibnall's leaving. It's like, okay, you want me to come back? you bet I'm going to, because it's
Yeah.
like to get to do that landmark episode, 60 years.
And I have to say, yeah, it's like one of the things I kind of miss about, we talked about this before, I'm not necessarily against this idea of the timeless child.
No, that's the thing. I don't think it was
It's
actually
an interesting idea. The problem I have with it is that, what I kind of loved, and maybe the Doctor has been around so long that we're not satisfied. Here's what I love about Doctor Who, and when they try to overthink it and they miss the beauty of it.
Yeah.
I think how wonderful it is for your hero to start their journey is because they're bored.
exactly. That was that line in the war game.
Yeah,
That line in the war games.
Yeah. How many of us across the land, all these who work all these different jobs, how many people really are bored with their lives and can really connect with this? It's such a simple idea because all of us want to have a life that's meaningful and engrossing and interesting. And the Doctor has that urge that the other Time Lords don't.
Right.
And that's why he's so special. There doesn't need to be a conspiracy why he left. Doesn't need to be like, he killed his dad and had to run away. Doesn't need to be he was simply bored and he left to make his own life his own way.
Yeah.
I think that's so incredibly interesting. It's simple.
You had a really interesting description. Is you liked the fact that the Doctor's a C student.
Yeah, so we'll talk about when we'll go deep nerd here. When the first Romana is in the TARDIS and she said you talked about him barely passing his some of his tests.
Yes,
as with the C basically, and he was really upset by her knowing this, and that basically it's not that he's dumb; he's a bad student, and he doesn't because he's into the adventure and he's not a good Time Lord.
I think I could definitely understand that because in school I hated being in school and I was always one of those. It's like I was always B, C, D, C, D, and always in the resource room and always it's like because it's not that I don't think I was particularly I wouldn't say I was completely intelligent, but I wouldn't say I was a moron. I just didn't want to be there. I hated school because I hated the idea of being stuck in one place for how many hours a day you're stuck in school, where it's like you're looking out the window and you want to go have fun. You want to go run, play, go have fun in the woods, go go
that's
with your friends.
That's my problem with. I think it's an interesting idea. Don't get me wrong. I actually think it's an interesting origin. My problem though.
The timeless child.
Yeah, that my problem with it is it takes away the simple, beautiful reason. It doesn't take away why he left. I hope they never take that away. They kind of try to with the Seventh Doctor, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it was one of those things. I think this is where it has its origins. It's like the idea of the whole Cartmel plan where they were.
You're overthinking it. You're overthinking it. Some things are beautiful. That's where people. You don't. It's like the TARDIS. It's like someone coming in there and saying nah, it's going to be a Porta-John from now on. Done.
Right.
Don't. Some things you don't mess with. Okay.
Yeah.
Just don't mess with it. And this is one of the things I don't think you should mess with. And that's my personal opinion.
And with a future showrunner, it's like, it's like some people are saying they should just retcon the whole thing, and I don't think they necessarily should. And it's one of those things that
I don't know. I'm of two minds. I'd say if they can have a cool way of explaining it so it makes everyone happy, I'm fine with that.
I think I probably brought this up before, but there's two ways there's a couple ways I think, you can go with it. For one thing, it's the master who told the story. So it's like, you can't really trust so much of what he's saying, but you could either find out that the timeless child is actually the master. And that's the reason why he never really fit in with Gallifrey and was always becoming kind of a renegade, or
Yeah, I mean-
you find out the timeless child was actually Susan,
Yeah, or something like that.
and that could have been part of the reason why the Doctor, some of the reason why the Doctor ran away from Gallifrey with Susan, and even kind of erased his own memories of her being the timeless
that would
child.
be cool. I would be completely. That's a great idea because they haven't brought her back, and I'd be great for them to reconnect. And I think that would be cool. That would be the best case scenario. I think if RTD
Right.
could kind of explain away and keep the Doctor. I think it's just I'm of two minds of it. I like the boldness, and it's an interesting idea.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's like I could tell it was Chibnall trying to leave his legacy on the show by doing this very grandiose plot point. But at the same time, I know it.
But you really have to be careful. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it did. There were people that thought it was magnificent, and there were people that just were bullshit over it. I mean, angry to the point where they just it's like they doc this is ruining my life type of thing, and it's like that's a little much, don't you think?
No, it would be ruining if the idea was dumb. We're just lucky that it wasn't one of Chibnall's dumb ideas.
Oh, that's true.
He comes up with a lot of them. So I actually think it's a very interesting idea.
Oh yeah,
and makes an interesting origin story for the regeneration idea itself. But I just think, first off, it goes against a lot of the ideas that the show has already been. So it's retconning other ideas about the sisterhood of the
Sisterhood of Karn.
Yeah, they were helping. They came, supposed to come from them, and with the Time Lords.
Yeah,
it's supposed to have a different origin story. He retconned, so I have no problem someone coming in and switching it around on him because he did the same thing to them.
Well, it feels like every new season, every new decade, and every new showrunner, it's kind of a reboot of Doctor Who to begin with. With Russell T Davies came in, killed off the Time Lords, destroyed Gallifrey. Stephen Moffat came in, brought back the Time Lords. You find out Gallifrey was put into a pocket universe. Chris Chibnall comes in, and destroys everything.
Right.
Again.
Yeah. But here's my problem with Chibnall. All right, he did something. It's already been done. That's called you are not creative. Okay, if you want to do some of the Time Lords, how about this? Just leave them alone.
Yeah.
You don't have to blow everything. It's like, you know what it is? It's like, nothing's working. I'll just quick throw the kitchen sink at it.
I suppose, yeah.
Like, the thing with a long-running show, do something new.
Yeah.
It's possible. You know what I mean? The Doctor can go anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
That's pretty open. So for you to go back and do the same thing to Gallifrey is pretty pathetic, in my point of view.
That's a good point.
And I didn't like that at all. And I thought it was stupid. Do something new. Do something that Moffat, incredible stories where like it turned a corner and you were like, oh my goodness, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. He wrote, in my opinion, the best episodes of Who ever. Of all of Who. He's written the most interesting ones.
Yeah.
So
he was that
should be the writers you hire.
Yeah. I don't think Moffat's going to be coming back because it sounds like, it's like I've done it. I'm now doing new things.
Oh,
and
man,
that's understandable
he did
too.
a lot, man.
Yeah.
He gave a lot. And what they need to do is they need to, instead of like a desperate search for somebody, they need to have, let people with some experience and some writers be like, hey, impress us. Because you're the next one who writes the best stories will be in there.
Yeah.
Probably.
Absolutely.
So people will be like, okay, I'm bringing it to Doctor Who. I want to write my best story I've ever written because I want to take over. You know what I mean? It's like, that's my problem with everyone's so, and don't get me wrong, actually, the show looks fantastic.
Oh yeah.
It looks really good. It's directed really well. It's shot really well. It's lit really well. The special effects are amazing, but they're missing the point with Doctor Who that, to me, I don't care. That stuff's nice, but like old Doctor Who fans, you've got to hook us in with the Doctor Who's world and the story and the Doctor himself.
It's got to be good writing.
the doctor's got to like suck us into his world.
Right.
And when he looks at you in the screen, you're just mesmerized.
Or
I
she.
don't get, or she. I don't. The sad thing is because she's so badly written, and I don't think she's given. Not all. There are some good episodes. I'm not saying it's all bad. Her first and second season, there's some like interesting stories, and I love the weird ones, like the ending with the frog and stuff like that.
Okay.
That one episode, I thought it was incredibly weird. That's great. When you just end in bizarre, like the Fourth Doctor yelling about salami. And then,
Yes.
and then the Duke or wherever, the new Duke, gives him a big thing of salami. That's how they ended. So it's like, the origin, the power of Doctor Who has never been on its taking chances with the special effects, being pioneers, trying weird stuff. It's about the story and the world you're conceiving.
Yeah.
For the Doctor.
So another thing fans might not realize about about Classic Who is there are quite a few old episodes that are missing, because the BBC had something they would do where it's like they would wipe the videotapes after they've been like maybe a couple repeat broadcasts. They'd wipe the tape so they could tape other things on them, and there's like this bunch of these classic shows that people will never see again, including like Peter Cook and Dudley Moore's Spike Milligan's Q5 and Doctor Who.
Yeah.
That, they're
mostly
episodes.
A lot of the second, actually, I didn't realize this when we started our classic viewing. There's a lot of the first Doctor still exists. A lot
really?
of it. It's the second Doctor who got decimated by this.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like one of those things, how could you predict what the home media market would be like, in 30 or 40 years time, or even 20 years time.
I just don't here's what I don't understand about it. I understand the logic of it. Hey,
I don't understand it at all.
Well, what I do understand about it is there's no such things as reruns. There's no one, they can't sell them to anybody like as video cassettes. They don't know that. But two things. Okay.
Yeah.
The BBC could have done.
But they didn't.
They could have Doctor's long-running shows. They could have just kept the long-running ones.
Oh, absolutely.
Because did I lose you?
No, you're still there. It just kind of
Okay.
stuttered.
It paused.
Yeah.
It's a special show. It keeps going. Why would you eat? It's still going. I could see for a show it lasted 2 seasons. Everyone's kind of forgotten about it. And number 2, all right. There's all these crazy fans. Sell them. Have an ad. BBC's cleaning out.
I don't know. I honestly don't know if they thought it was going to be a long running show, or I don't think I don't think they thought. Period. I think the BBC was just very.
But they were still destroying stuff in the early 70s.
Yeah.
I think
it's very penny pinching in the American term, where it's like they were just like trying to get as much money, as they save as much money as they could by doing stuff that ended up in the long run shooting themselves in the foot. Because here are these episodes they could have made probably made a fortune on. They already made a fortune, but they could have doubled on that if those episodes still existed.
Now I can see, but my question is, I can see the logic of you reusing tape. Okay,
yeah,
it has a purpose. If you're going to destroy it, you get to spend money destroying it and then dealing with the refuse. You just be like, hey, we're having a sale at the BBC. These old shows, we don't have room for them. We're going to destroy them. But maybe the public, you help produce them. First come, first serve. Go ahead and have them.
Well, I think that's what saved Monty Python, is because I think they actually bought back their episodes, or they did something where they saved it.
I'll tell you how it was saved. Someone from the BBC got a hold of who were the 2 who did all the directing of the movies?
Terry Jones and Terry Gilliam.
Terry Jones.
Okay.
They contacted Terry Jones. They're like, hey, because he was interested in the technical end always of Monty Python.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
they're like, hey, Monty Python is up on dock to be destroyed. And so he saved it all.
I don't blame him. Yeah.
He somehow arranged to have them bought or save them. So they were going to be destroyed too.
Yep.
So, I mean, you know.
There's another one. You know, think about all the home media over the years of Monty Python.
Yeah.
But there are still episodes that are, they're still finding episodes. I mean, there was one where we watched like a few years ago together, Enemy of the World, where it had Patrick Troughton in two roles, and that one was lost for the longest time, and they eventually found that one. I think I think the first one they found was Tomb of the Cybermen.
For the second Doctor, yeah. But what I've seen about the missing stuff is that they're coming to the end of the possibility of finding these things.
Yeah.
The odds of some TV station it would have to be like North Korea, places that no one has been able to get to, that they have a copy is getting pretty slim now. The thing that they know exists for sure is pretty sure. There is a few odd episodes that are in private hands that no one knows who they are, but there's pretty much been confirmed that there's a few odd episodes that no one's ever seen.
Really?
And there's these collectors, that's part of the joy for them. They get to put the film strip in, and they're the only ones who've seen this episode in 50 years. It's kind of selfish.
It is. It's very.
Now, I don't know if that's the reasoning why they're doing it. Maybe they're like waiting to make more money. I don't know. But they know of these collectors. There's a few I think what we're looking at is not like the full story, like part 4 of something.
Yeah.
That this person or people will have. And that's probably going to be the next thing to come out.
Well,
Convincing these people.
I know with some of them, they've tried to like reconstruct them through animation, where they've had the audio clips, and they've sort of.
I don't think I'm going to show them for our Who Club.
I wouldn't, because it's been kind of a mixed bag with that one. I really like the animation they did with The Invasion, because it was the same animation group that animated Richard E. Grant's episode Stream of the Shalka, and I liked the character design in it because they didn't try to make it look realistically like the Doctor. It was sort of a very Batman the Animated Series version of Patrick Troughton, and I like that, for the episodes. But it's like a couple of the new ones, like Power of the Daleks. I didn't like the animation of that one. I thought it's
hard, what I really want is like old school animation from like the 80s.
Yeah.
Done on it, where it's like real animation. I know that's too expensive, and maybe they can't do it for it or whatever. The only one I'm probably going to show to my Who Club, if I ever do, would be Shada.
Oh yeah,
I'll show them that because there's enough linking footage, and it's a kind of interesting mixed together.
And that ending to it, they gave it.
Yeah, the ending's fantastic.
Oh yeah, I like that.
It's so cool, brilliant job. That'll probably be the only one I show.
So as we mentioned, there's a lot of episodes that are still out there, and one of them was I think the Wheel in Space, which was I think Zoe's first episode.
Yes, yeah.
And that one's I think episodes are still missing. So once in a while on the podcast, we sometimes like to do dramatic readings of things. Sometimes we like one episode we picked a episode of Batman the Animated Series that was never produced. Or we did sort of a live reading of that. Scene 2, interior of the TARDIS. Jamie looks at the scanner, which shows a forlorn Victoria sadly waving from the beach. The Doctor sets the controls behind him.
We can't just leave her.
We're not leaving her, Jamie. It was her decision to stay.
Oh.
She'll be perfectly all right with Harris. Now don't worry so much.
I'm not. I'm just... Come on, let's go.
Well, where would you like to go?
I couldn't care less.
I was fond of her too, you know, Jamie. Jamie, we've landed. Jamie,
Huh? Huh?
we've landed.
Oh.
Let's have a look at the scanner, shall we?
I thought you said you would land it.
Well, yes, we are, but I seem to have lost the picture. Let's try a little bit more power, shall we?
You sure you're pushing the right one?
Yes, of course I am. Look at the fault indicator, will you? It's around there to the left.
Well, it's all right here.
No movement at all?
No.
Well, that's funny. The air's all right. The temperature's perfectly normal. There seems to be a rather lot of metal around us.
What? Oh, you know I can't hear you when you talk to yourself.
There we are. It's all coming up now.
Hey, now, that looks all right. Boy, look at the size of it.
Well, that's funny. It's all changing tonight now.
That's a wee bit quick, isn't it? Look, it's changed again. What's going on?
Oh dear. Those pictures aren't what's happening outside. I'm certain of that.
Well, why do they keep appearing then?
They're temptations.
Eh?
The TARDIS is trying to warn us to get away from here, to somewhere more pleasant. I must have pushed the wrong switch.
The red light stopped flashing.
What?
Something must be wrong.
What? The power lines are overloading. The fluid link's gone.
Doctor, come over here.
The mercury's vaporizing. We've got to get out of here. Come on.
But how?
Hold on to me.
What are you going to do? What happened to the TARDIS?
I disengaged the time vector generator.
Oh, the what?
Well, once removed, it alters the size of the TARDIS. The inside becomes an ordinary police telephone box again. Come along and sit down. If I hadn't have done, the mercury vapors would have killed us.
Well, where are we?
Well, it looks like the motor section of some sort of rocket.
A rocket?
Yes, there's an artificial gravity system too.
But what does that do?
Well, it's what keeps us on our feet. Otherwise, we'd be floating around.
Oh, there's no water around, is there?
Water? No, not around here, Jamie. There's no movement either, is there?
We're on the ground then?
Yes, I expect so. Oh.
What's the matter? Well, don't keep me in suspense. What's the matter?
Have a lemon sherbet. It'll quench your thirst.
Is that really from the episode?
It's really from the episode. I got it offline. So that's, it's like right after.
Wow, I wish I could see that.
I do too. I mean, it was like this was right after they left Victoria.
Oh, cool. That's a cool episode start.
Oh, that was the other thing I heard about. Apparently, Michael Troughton's going to be playing his dad for Big Finish.
I mean, that's fine, but what I really want, this is, okay, we should end it with this. My fantasy for the 60th. Third Doctor's son.
Oh, Jon Pertwee? I know there was talk
as the Third Doctor.
I heard there was talk during Moffat's time that they were going to try to do that as an episode, but timing was wrong, and I don't know if Jon Pertwee was working on Gotham at the time. But
I think.
You see him in the cost, you see him in his dad's clothing for Halloween, and it's like you're like, oh my goodness, he looks almost just like him.
It's gotta be. They gotta have him. He's got acting experience. He's done, been on.
He's got a bit more gruffer voice than his dad, but he can still work.
He can imitate it. He
Yeah.
can imitate that list.
Did I ever tell you I met Jon Pertwee?
Yeah, you told me.
Yeah, Sydney and I met him at a Rhode Island Comic Con, and I was dressed as Luke Skywalker, and I was holding a lightsaber, and I asked him, "Do you want to hold this?" And he's like, "Oh yes." And you're kind of like, "Oh yes, rather." And so there's a picture of him holding it, and he just says, "Oh, this is wonderful. My son has one of these." But he seemed like a really nice guy.
Yeah. Did you talk to him about the Third Doctor? Or
I didn't get a chance to. This was only really a photo op we did, but okay. I didn't get I didn't get a chance to talk to him. I wish I did. I wish I kind of got that opportunity. But he, from the short meeting, he seemed really nice. So
yeah, I say bring him back. Bring back. I mean, it'd be great to bring back Tennant. Everyone loves him.
Oh yeah,
and I would love if they figure out a way to convince Eccleston to come back.
I think, yeah, I'd like that too.
I think I'd want him. I personally would want him more than Tennant because he hasn't come back and he's so good. And I can understand his reasoning. He's right about it. I've heard him talk about it, and he thinks that have these multi-doctor stories, if they're done wrong, are just kind of like cash grabs.
Yeah,
and especially like that's why I really am not. I always see in the comics all these multi-doctor stuff, It's just like just because it can happen in the comics world doesn't mean it should happen every other day. It should be something rare and special.
Yeah, because they've only since the new series they've only done it a couple times. Once when they did it with Peter Davison and David Tennant with that short time crash, which was a lot of fun, and then with the 50th anniversary, which that was I have to say that was one of those good last move decisions with Stephen Moffat, where you say it's like, well, Eccleston doesn't want to come back to it, but what if we bring in sort of this Mayfly Doctor who only appears in the one episode, and it was a great idea. And it was one of those things because his reasoning behind this, and I agree with this in the fact that he said that when you look at Eccleston in the first episode, Rose, he's a whole new man, and you can't picture him as the guy to kill off the Time Lords. Yeah. So to bring in John Hurt's Doctor it was really a great casting move, and to have him sort of have him sort of like an amalgamation of Christopher Eccleston and Paul McGann, and that was the other big surprise, was having Paul McGann return for that one short web episode. Too. Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be cool. Yeah, it'd be cool. This is what I would do. Okay, I would have a shorter season, and I would bring back for the 60th year. I just bring back an episode I bring back each one and have another episode, or something. I guess that would be too weird. Well, but, you never know. Make it. You never know, because I think Russell T Davies has sort of said, kind of creating, comparing creating the Doctor Who or the Whoniverse, sort of like the multiverse of Marvel Comics and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when you have all these different Doctor Who universes coming into play. On behalf of Murphy, thank you for listening to the Mental Suppository. Until next time, this is Brett Hurholtz saying,
I cross the void beyond the mind, the empty space that circles time. I see where others stumble blind to seek a truth they never find. Eternal wisdom is my guide. I am the Doctor. Through cosmic waste the TARDIS flies to taste the secret source of life. A presence science can't deny exists within, outside, behind the latitude of human minds. I am the Doctor. My voyage dissects the course of time. Who knows, you say, but are you right? Who searches deep to find the light that glows so darkly in the night? Toward that point, I guide my flight. As fingers move to end mankind, metallic teeth begin their grind. With sword of truth, I turn to fight the satanic powers of the night. Is your faith before your mind? Know me. Am I the Doctor?
The Mental Suppository has been produced by Brett Herholtz and Jamie Billings and distributed by M the Media Project. Theme music generously donated by Mr. B, the Gentleman Rhymer. Visit his webpage at gentlemanrhymer.com. We would love to hear from our fans. Email us at mentalsuppository@gmail.com.
How long, Ken?
Insufficient data.
Yeah, you never fucking know the answer when it's important.